Welcome to the Scientist with Heart podcast, my open diary of academic life. This is a space where I share my personal thoughts and reflections on research, teaching, and university life. These are my own opinions, and the aim is to spark discussion, exchange perspectives, and gather insights from others navigating the academic roller coaster at the bench and in the lecture hall. Having teaching duties while doing a PhD can be a burden, but also a chance. I experienced both. I did a PhD at a Max Planck Institute. There you do not have to do any teaching. Some of the PIs and group leaders and directors are affiliated with universities, but as a PhD student, you do not have to necessarily teach. The picture is very different when you are doing a PhD at a university laboratory where the professors have teaching load, and hence they will involve you heavily with teaching. I've seen both sides. In retrospective, I'm happy that I could do my PhD without having to teach as a PhD student because I could focus 100% on becoming a scientist, getting around the lab work and so on. However, I must say that if you consider the learning outcomes that you get from being a supervisor and student assistant and science educator yourself from an early time on, it is also very beneficial for personal development and career development. There is no right or wrong here. I can just say that when I did my PhD at Max Planck, I felt that it was really, really perfect, that I could fully focus on my lab work. So what are the cons of having teaching duties? Obviously, time. I'm in a lab now with a W2 professor. He has a certain amount of teaching hours per semester, and there are lectures that he handles, and some of the lectures people like I handle, more senior people in the lab. And the PhD students are involved in preparing and assisting with the lab courses. We are a biology department, so there are quite high numbers of students starting in the bachelor studies, and hence the cohorts are very large. In the past, I have organized a very big lab course. The lab course was that big that we have to repeat the course 5 times. So we split the students into 5 subgroups because the practical hall could not hold more students. We simply didn't have more equipment. So we repeated the same practical course 5 times: Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, Thursday, also a day. I was in my thoughts. I was seeing myself standing in the lecture hall. So luckily I could give this course to some other colleague to organize, but it was definitely an experience. In the beginning I was lucky, I just assisted and I could watch how it's done and how they did it and what was involved in managing this course, and then I took over. The benefit of having done that is increased managing skills. The contact with the students show what it's important and how to answer questions, but also how to teach. And teaching and answering questions are 2 different things, as we all should know. So in my first year, with no didactic knowledge, that was before my didactic skill enhancement started. In the first year, when a student asked me in the practical what this and that means or how this and that works, I was very much under the pressure to give the answer to that question. And that changed, obviously, 100%. Because now I'm instructing my lab assistants that they do not answer to such questions, but guide the students to figure out by themselves, trigger interaction with the group members, and talk about what they think the answer to the question is. And 99% of the time, they will figure it out correctly, or they already knew the answer, but they were too shy to believe that this could be right. Starting with teaching early and facing the reality of science education can prepare for an academic career. That's a pro. It can also increase your people skills as a scientist. It can also increase your teaching skills automatically because you don't lose this attachment to the state of being a student where you just don't know anything and start from scratch. However, the con is time. You are stuck in a lab course and you lose time in your PhD thesis. It can be very heavy if you assist in a practical and you have to prepare the samples. And you then also have to maybe supervise students in the lab. That's also part of teaching. So in universities, the supervision and teaching load on PhD students can be very high, although their main task is to do a PhD. So would this be a selection criteria for me in retrospective to do a PhD at an institution and not at a university? I don't know. To be fair, at the time when you look for a PhD position, you mostly are interested in a certain topic, field, area, and you're not that strategic. What I would say is the following. It has both advantages and disadvantages. And definitely doing a PhD at an institution with 100% focus on lab work can bring you further to your goal of climbing the career ladder in academia. But it's also not a guarantee. I don't know. I can't answer the question if this would be a active choice for me to go again to Max Planck for the sake of not having to teach. It has pros and cons, definitely. And the pros of what you learn while you teach, they are a little bit hard to accept, because at the stage where you teach, you just feel mostly that you lose time and that it's a burden. Sometimes it is also just a waste of time, because if you have the disadvantage to be in a teaching environment where teaching is not executed in a didactic way, but it's just always a hassle and everybody suffers basically, well, then you also didn't learn too much other than you hate it. So it can be very disadvantageous. When I came from Max Planck and from my postdoc abroad and I was diving into teaching, I did not experience such negative things before. So I was having an open mind and I entered this world of teaching with a very positive attitude. So I don't know, you tell me. The pros and cons of having to teach while doing your PhD, is it part of the decision-making process? Should it be part of the decision-making process? What do you say? What's your experience? PhDs and postdocs out there, what would you say? Let me know.